Hey, how you doing? This is David Skarica. So I'm going to get right into it today. So today we're going to look at airlines. So this is kind of like, okay, I mentioned this the last few days. So to my paying members list or Patreon list, lifetime list, whatever you want to call it. So essentially what I've done is I've had this like, lifetime list that signed up for Addicted Profits years ago. Last year when I made the decision to kind of turn Addicted to Profits into Stock Chart of the Day, and make it kind of more of these videos orientated, not as many, not like a recommended portfolio, just give ideas. I think it fits much more or much better into the landscape of what's going on today on the internet and investment world, etc. So essentially, anyone that was a member of Addicted to Profits, paying member at one time, going back to 2014, has been receiving the free or the pay version of the stock chart of the day since June for both the Patreon members and lifetime members. And also anyone who was a lifetime member in that time, to make up the fact that I was giving away this kind of free trial to past paying members, could also pick a friend, family member, and give them a free lifetime subscription if you're a current lifetime member. So essentially, right now I've been offering also a discounted lifetime price, like of 50% off, roughly 1,000 US, instead of 2,000 US, or you pay 100 US a year or US a month for 12 months, or 200 US a month for 6 months. So what I'm trying to say is I'm gonna end that on Thursday. So on Thursday, that's it. Anyone who's been receiving these paid members updates will not, and is not a lifetime member or Patreon member, will not receive them anymore starting tomorrow. So what I've decided to do to kind of end off here is, this is kind of an example of what paid members get. I'm blasting this the whole free list, right? Where on Stock Chart of the Day, we just kind of talk macro charts. I'll talk about a chart, but we actually give actionable trade ideas in the lifetime list. Now, again, I don't like having a recommended portfolio, but I'll tell people what I'm doing. This is what I'm buying. Oh yeah, by the way, because we just sold a couple stocks at slight losses and one at a profit recently, or this is what I'm doing. And then if you want to act on that, that's fine. If you don't, they're just ideas. It's not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. All that stuff with the with the full disclosure. But it's basically actionable trade ideas. For lifetime and paying members, welcome to write me emails. Welcome to write me. I got like a dozen subscribers or so that write me all the time on WhatsApp. I'm always there. I think actually I work better. I think I'm kind of a people person, so I think I work better that way, interacting with subscribers that way, rather than just blasting, a big list. So anyhow, I just wanted to tell you that. So starting Thursday, the people that were on kind of the free trial of the pay service, that will end. And then till the next Thursday for the following week, I'll be offering those discounted rates on the lifetime membership. Remember, lifetime means you get it for the rest of your life, or however long I do this. I can guarantee you, being 46 years of age, I'll probably be doing this till at least another 10 to 15 years. So you'll get that forever. And also that gives you also access to some of these private placements I do, stock deals, especially if you're obviously a credit investor. So I thought I'd just start on that. So today we're going to look at the Spirit Airlines. We're going to look at airlines, this kind of takeover that fell apart. Now, something similar happened to an airline. I'll start off this way. In 1989, Friday the 13th, not a good day, as we know. Bad luck. So it was called the mini crash in 1989. And what happened was the UAL had a leverage buyout happening through certain sources, and it was using the junk bond market to buy it out, because the junk bond market was kind of created and really hot in the 80s. Michael Milken was kind of the main guy. I don't know if any of you, obviously a lot of you have seen the movie Wall Street, and Gordon Gekko is kind of loosely based on Michael Milken in that movie. So anyhow, it was a leverage buyout deal. It fell apart. The market tanked. The Dow fell 7%. So this is not a leverage buyout. This is two airlines merging. Now, first of all, philosophically, get out of the way. The airline industry is not really monopoly. Okay, now the four big players like Delta, UAL, American, etc., they do kind of control most of the airline industry, but there's about 20 companies in the States, 20 major carriers. Most of them tend to be regional carriers or smaller carriers the JetBlues, the Spirits, the, Southwests, that sort of thing. So it's not really, like I would consider the soda industry to be more of a monopoly. Because, okay, you've got all these, again, regional sodas you can buy, but most of it's, Coca-Cola and PepsiCo, right? So so this was like, these are the 9th and 10th major carriers, and they were merging because Spirit has financial problems. Like, basically their whole way of operating since, coming to existence was they go into a local market. They would basically say, okay, we're going to undercut everyone. I've flown Spirit. I'm sure a lot of you have too. It's not a good airline. They charge for everything. They charge for almost breathing, when you go on the flight. I remember one time I took a flight from Myrtle Beach, because I was in Myrtle Beach. I didn't feel like driving to Charlotte to go back to the Bahamas, and they had a flight, through Fort Lauderdale. And I upgraded, to the big seat, and it wasn't that expensive or anything. But yeah, they charge for like a carry-on on Spirit, right? But anyhow, but their actual face prices are cheap, and they come in, they undercut, and then companies have to lower their prices by 10, 15% in that market to, basically compete with Spirit's prices. But the problem is, by offering those low prices, they lose money. So that's the issue. So they've always lost money. And you can see the stock has gone from almost 80 back in 2015, when most airlines peaked, to, $6 at the moment, even below its 2020 lows. So them and JetBlue were going to kind of combine, and JetBlue was going to probably take over, probably get rid of a lot of Spirit's unprofitable, regions, and then, just kind of keep the profitable routes. So, and you see JetBlue has basically been suffering as well. So it was a way for these two companies to kind of merge, kind of get back to being competitive, et cetera, et cetera. And, see JetBlue's gone from 28 down to $5. So, and JetBlue's kind of falling a lot too, because people were hoping that they would kind of, add Spirit to their, portfolio, and then, start taking some market share away. So the judge said this is, monopolies. The Biden administration celebrating that this is good for the consumer, et cetera, et cetera. You're gonna have to excuse it. My phone is ringing in the background. I'm too far. I'm charging. I'm too far away to pick up the call. So it will stop in a second. Usually I put my phone on quiet, but I think we can put up with that. It's not a big deal. Anyhow, so the JetBlue, that's what they're doing, right? And then Spirit, that's what they were doing. No, first of all, these are not major. They're like the 9th and 10th. Like I said, they're smaller airlines. Recently, that Air Alaska announced that they were going to take over Hawaiian Airlines. So that's another merger that could be in danger because of this. We'll look at their charts in a second. But here's the problem. If Spirit goes into routes and regions and says, okay, we're going to undercut the competition, and we're going to, undercut the competition, and then basically charge cheaper rates. Well, what does that mean, essentially? It means that these other airlines have to cut the rates to compete. So isn't that good for the consumer? So if Spirit's still around in some form, if they're otherwise they're going to go bankrupt, doesn't that kind of keep that, and the competition keep that? Because the problem now is Spirit's going to go bankrupt. Those cheaper routes and go out the window. And then all of a sudden the Deltas and the Americans don't have to lower their rates to compete with Spirit. So this is where the government's totally inept. They don't know what they're talking about. They're actually, by squashing this, going to hurt the consumer. And, we don't know, the way politics works, how much are these big airlines, sorry, I just had to turn off the sound on the phone. So anyhow, so the JetBlue, this is like I said, like this is kind of hurting both companies in competition, et cetera, et cetera. And JetBlue is struggling too. They're losing money as well. So probably Spirit is going to go bankrupt now. So when I talk about, well, how do you play this? Well, here's the issue. I would usually say, I like maximum pessimism. You buy where the pessimism is the greatest. You buy Spirit, but they're going to go bankrupt. Bankruptcies for airlines are very, very messy. They're going to have to sell off the whole fleet. They're going to have to do all these things, et cetera, et cetera. JetBlue, maybe now they won't have the added expense of taking on Spirit. They won't have to restructure Spirit when they take them over, et cetera, et cetera. Do you look at Alaska Air? Because Alaska Air now, they've been hit here. You see, they're down 3%. And we'll get the shorter term charts. Oh, I'm going to mention something about airlines, which is interesting when I talk about something else. Fortunately, you can see Alaska Air is almost back at the lows of October, come from over $40 to 33. But the question is, will their Hawaiian Air takeover now get quashed? If you believe that it won't, it probably helps Alaska Air, especially with Spirit going under. And now that, it makes them more competitive and gives them a bigger market share, right? Do you just buy one of the big names, like, that it's going down in tandem? Like Delta, you can see, has gone from 42 to 37. This is the XAL index. You can see it's gotten whacked here recently, gone from 70 to 57. That's a big move. You're talking almost a 20% drop in airline stocks in just a few weeks. So, but we can see they can move down a lot more. And the sell-off in the fourth quarter of last year, or third and fourth quarter of last year, you can see it went from 80 to 47. Airlines went down nearly 30, 40%. Airlines tend to be more trading stocks than like long-term holds because of the issues with, profitability, competition, dependent on fuel costs, all of these things, right? Very economically sensitive. They tend to have a lot of debt. So anyhow, so do you, like I said, do you get one of the big guys? This is American Airlines. You can see they've been whacked from 14 to 13, over 14 to 13. So what do you buy here? I think right now you still have to wait. And if you wanted to say, okay, this could hurt the whole industry short term, this is the Jets ETF. It's by Frank Holmes. I'll tell you a funny story about this in a second. So this is something you might want to look at. You can see the last 2 years and the Jets ETF has got to about 15. Maybe you want to wait till there. That's represented the bottom. And, basically in 2022, you saw about a 10-month rally, was a 50%. And then from November, we saw, a 2-month rally where it rallied nearly 30%, which is great in 2 months, right? So maybe you wait for this to get to 15 to 16. What's interesting about the airlines longer term is I made the comment back in 2014 to 2015, I was convinced the market was going to have a large correction. And back then, and I'll show you some charts in a second, the airlines were kind of bubble stocks. They had these huge moves since about 2011 to 2014, 2015. And I was like, these are absolutely crazy moves, like for airline stocks, and especially stocks that are so cyclical, right? And obviously the lower fuel costs of 2014 and 2015 kind of added fuel to that fire, that airline, that airline stocks being on fire. So the Jets came out, and I just made the comment at the time. I was like, this is going to be near the top, because part of the reason was Frank Holmes runs it. And I like Frank. I've met him a few times. He's a really smart guy. I've actually traded Hive, his Bitcoin miner, as well. And actually just did a recent trade where I made money on it. When Bitcoin rallied in the fourth quarter, I made about, we had it on the list. I sold some of it recently. I made like 20, 30% on the trade. So, like I said, I like Frank. But when I just made the comment that when a mining guy gets into the airlines, we're near the top of the airlines. Now, they did rally another couple of years, but you can see since this was launched in 2015 at about $24 a share, it's fallen 33% or 25% in price. So it was kind of like a mining guy getting into airlines, but whatever. It's a great trading vehicle. It's got billions in assets. Frank's making great money just off the expense fee. That's the way we all want to live. So good for Frank. And he came up with a great idea. So this, if you're a little more conservative, maybe this is the way to play it. I do think it's too early right now, but I just wanted to give you an idea. Let's get some of these stocks on our radars. Like a Spirit going under, it's going to help the margins of some of these other companies going forward. I got one subscriber, one of my best subscribers. He's a pilot out in California. I think he's retiring right now. He does a lot of the junior mining deals. His name's Bill. So maybe Bill will weigh in on this with me as well. He knows a lot more about the airline industry than I do. But there we go. Spirit Airlines, JetBlue falling apart on the transaction. There are some ideas. I think Jets ultimately is probably the way to play it, but it's probably a little too early right now. And again, I see airlines as always as kind of trades, right? Like, again, you look at, from 2020, this rallied more than 50%, right? From here to here, rallied more than 100%, 50%. Just the fourth quarter of last year, 30%. So I think you look for the airlines when they're kind of beat up, oversold, et cetera, and then you don't hold them longer term. Oh, and I'll just show you what I was talking about. And it just shows you, this is where like being a contrarian does work. Yeah. I was shorting these stocks back in 2014, 2015, and they didn't go down a great deal. See, they had a couple little swoons here, like Delta, but Delta has now done nothing for, 10 years. So I was essentially right at the time. I was right in terms of, you know what, this stock is doing nothing, or this stock is overvalued and it's going to underperform. Now, did the big short come in it? Not really. But again, all the, American Airlines, actually, that did work out on the short side. If you had been, went from 2014, 2015, 40, 45 to 12, 13, Southwest has been the best performer, but still really done nothing since 2014, 2015. You're actually down about 20, 25%. But again, when I saw these moves from 2012, you can see here, Southwest going from $5 to 40, I was like, come on, these are airlines. These aren't tech companies and high growth companies. So, anyhow. So, and by the way, on the reverse side, if we go look at airlines going way back to 9/11, which was kind of the first real disruption in the airline industry, because obviously that hurt air travel, the terrorist attacks, to after the financial crisis, you can see that the airline index peaked in 2000 at 180, and it went to almost 10 during the financial crisis, 95%, maximum pessimism, etc. The next 10 years went up 1,000%. But again, when this bottomed at almost 10 in 2009, and went to, it went up tenfold into 2014, 2015. I was just like, look at, again, these are airlines. And I know they're coming from depressed levels, but they're up 10x. This is basically it. And again, I was right from that standpoint that even if maybe you couldn't really trade off that, but in terms of trading of don't be long these things, I was right. But I think now maybe this failure and of this merger kind of causes a further sell-off, and you get a good trade in these stocks. So I'd probably going to play Jets because that's the most conservative, easiest way to play it. I think JetBlue, because they're not going to go under, and now that they don't have this kind of have to deal with the Spirit restructuring, maybe that's a good way to play it too. But that's kind of what I'm looking at. And Southwest is another discount, airline. So maybe that's a good way to play it, because Southwest, for example, won't have the competition now of Spirit, being their kind of discount competition probably going forward. So that could be a good way to play it too. And, as well, but I would like to see them a little oversold. Like, and I feel that airlines are more trades than long-term holds. So I hope you like this. This is kind of, again, what we do in my pay service. I give ideas like this. Now, a lot of times I give these ideas when I see there's actionable trades, but sometimes it's good to do this too. Put something on the radar, kind of look at the sector, kind of watch it, and then maybe the opportunity comes. I think most people don't do that. And by the way, this is also why I've restructured the service this way. I don't want to write a monthly newsletter again. Like, maybe if I had a something based like in precious metals or something like that, I would do it just to comment on the market. But I kind of just want to wait till I want to be flexible. I want to wait till the opportunities arrive and then be able to take them. And I hope you can understand that. So everybody take care. Sorry about the phone call in the background. I hope you're not looking around during the video like, oh my God, my phone's ringing. And ironically, I did pause the video for a second. This guy called again, and some guy I haven't talked to in like a year. So, that's always the way it works, isn't it? Okay, everybody take care. And I hope you really enjoyed this video. And I'll give more information on the expiry of the free service and the resumption of like kind of and the offer on the lifetime service, the Patreon, etc. over the next week.